Welcome to the vertical foil placement. This is a partial foil with a color melt toner. This is my model. She has level 6 fine hair. She has some pre-existing highlights that have been colored darker with what I'm assuming is a demi-permanent, probably mask because it was here. This is my first section, so it's hard to tell, but it is not perfectly horizontal. It's a little bit elevated towards the left side. Vertical placements are great because they go up the part and the highlights are visible. They also provide really nice contrast in the hair, which a lot of people do like. However, they can fall a little bit stripy because they're perfectly linear on either side of the part. So just by angling them very subtly, it does break up that tendency. So with this placement, I am also going to be doing a lived-in color. It is a color that looks like it has already grown out a little bit. It's very natural looking and very low maintenance, which is what my client's looking for. So I am feathering the highlights at the root just a little bit. It's not so much that I am feathering excessively because if I don't have enough saturation, I will just create a lot of warmth in the hair, a warm band at the top of the highlights. So I'm just feathering them and keeping them slightly off root so that when my toner fades, because I'm going to do a darker toner, it doesn't look fake or like there's little lines in her hair. So as you can see as well, I am not folding my foils on the side. There are certain parts of the head when you can get away with not folding them in, and it does become a lot more efficient time-wise. This part of the head is very flat, and so the foils won't have a tendency to move around a lot. It's very important with this placement that I space my foils evenly. If some are closer together and some are further apart, then it can look a little bit messy. So these are all about 1 centimeter apart. I'm not trying to make her blonde. If I wanted to make her blonde, then I would be putting them very, very close together. We're just looking for some soft dimension. I am using the Progress Lightener and half 10, half 20 volume because she has pre-existing color. Even though I think it's demi, it can still pose issues. I want to use something higher than 10 volume. I don't want to use 20 volume though because I'm going to be feathering the product through over pre-existing blonde. I am leaving out the blondest parts on her ends, but it is a little bit risky. And so it is safer to use more gentle lighteners. So you can see the blonde ends are getting left out. And then I will be checking my foils throughout the process to monitor the health of the hair. I'm weaving off the top and then I'm checking my weave to make sure that there's adequate space. See, that one wasn't quite what I was looking for. I will come up to about the round of the head, and then I will put a couple in the sides. Again, I am not trying to make my client blonde. I'm just trying to give her a nice soft refresh. I am going to be using horizontal foils in this section because they cover a lot of ground. I have left that front little piece out. She doesn't need to be blonde around her face, right there. These foils have a tendency to move around and I don't want to knock them, so I am going to fold the sides in so that they are more secure. They are angled slightly lower in the back. You can see a little bit better right here. I want to place my highlight on the peaks of her hairline, which are the places that go out the furthest versus the valleys, so that it doesn't look like, so that it looks natural basically, because that's what the sun would do. And also if you highlight the valleys, it can look a little bit like receding. So if you're doing a blonde, usually they just want to be as blonde as possible. But when you're doing bronze, brunettes, other colors, you want to be very strategic. And when you place your foil, you want it to look natural. So this shows this upward flicking motion. I'm going to do the same as we've done in other placements, 2 back-to-back baby lights on her hairline. They are probably higher than the other foils that I've done, but still slightly shattered at the top. If you want a bolder, brighter piece around the face, then you can do 3. You could even slice these, but right now things are trending towards a little bit more natural. But it's all up to what your client wants. I think when you are doing higher contrast looks like a brunette, then less is often more, because these will still be quite visible. So now I'm going to put one fairly close, and I want to match the angle of my foils in the back, because we're going to meet up together. This one is only about like half a centimeter maybe away from the hairline ones. And then I will continue working with my 1 centimeter pattern through this part. You can put the foils a little bit closer together around the face because, again, the sun creates a lot of natural lightness in this area, but it needs to be really intentional. So I'm going to put one more foil because I do want to have space in between them. If I was to put them too closer together, it would look like a big blonde chunk. And I'm going to clip them out of the way. These hairline foils are going to lift very quickly, so if you leave them on the skin where there's a lot of heat, that can speed up the process. However, as you can see, they did lift first, so I'm going to wipe them off. I elevate my foil and then I come under it with a cloth. I will immediately after doing this go and wash my hands. Ideally, I would have gloves on when doing this, but my product exposure is fairly minimal because I am able to get most of it off with my cloth. But in general, we don't want to touch the products very much because we are at risk of developing dermatitis. My other foil that was the first one that I put in is also ready. So now I'm going to tone my client. You want to be really gentle when the hair is wet and freshly bleached. You just want to avoid like really yanking on it with a brush. I am going to make sure that I put her correct part in because it does make a difference with the placement. I also warn my clients that they're going to look like they have spaghetti noodles coming out. And here's a pretty good visual on the vertical lines that this placement makes, but they're fairly soft. And that's due to the angle. I'm going to be doing a color melt toner, which generally uses 3 different tones to create a blend. My first darkest tone that I'm applying now is 10 grams of 6.0, 5 grams of 5.0, and 5 grams of 5.3 in Davines View. And because her natural level is a 6, I do want to make sure the color is matching with her natural. I don't want the highlights to be visible very much right at the root, and these colors are translucent. So I generally, if I want to cover them up, will go at least a half a shade darker. And I'm starting to apply it in the back. I have placed it along the part because I definitely want my coverage there. And now I am creating sort of like a teardrop shape. So the product is going to be pulled down lower in the back, the darkest color. And then I'm going to work around the front. Sometimes I'll do the front section and pre-section it out, and that works really well, but it can be maybe more comfortable for the client like this. And I'll show you different color applications throughout the program because I actually love this technique. So the teardrop shape in the back also creates a really nice C shape around the front hairline. And we're going to leave that out and we're going to tone it after. So each section, as I move forward, I will bring the color down less far, leaving out that C shape. And then finally, I will just tap the rest of the product forward a little bit of that darkest color. And then really take a look and make sure that it is blended. The tricky part is blending a level 5-6 to blonde without creating any weird dark spots. Now I'm going in with my mid formula, which is half 7, half 7, 3. A little bit more warmth and a shade and a half lighter. And I'm going to tone the tops of the face frame. Hair is naturally lighter around the face, and so it looks very nice to kind of work with what nature does. You can absolutely take your darkest toner and tap it like ever so slightly around the front, but every time that I do that, I really just wished I mixed up a mid-tone. So now I'm going to take the mid-tone and almost do like a reverse balayage on a couple of pieces and pull them down and melt them together. And then take my third formula, which is 9.4 and 8.2.3, and I am going to apply that on to the rest of the hair. 9.4 is like a really nice copper shade, and the 8.2.3 is a beige. So thanks, Abby. Now this is my hairline. I have to be so careful not to have it touch the dark right behind it. And so I'm going to make sure that I place it forward to process. I'll apply the rest of the color and then place it into a foil just for client comfort and clean her up. And here's the final result. It's super pretty, low maintenance, and soft.